working, isn't it? You have to be real close, maybe. It is a treat to be here. Welcome, Northwest State. Raise your hand if you're from Northwest State. 5, 6 of you? That's great. Really nice to have you here. Roxy, welcome. Chris' son married my daughter. We're related. It is really great to have you here tonight. The main star of the show tonight is Carla, and they wanted me to keep this short and said, just teach us how to grow herbs. And I said, Laura, you know I can't talk about herbs without talking about medicinal uses and our health and things. She said, that's fine, you can do that too. But a little limited on time. Oh yeah, and I'm supposed to talk slowly. My husband would laugh at that recommendation. On your handout, that growing herbs, we're just going to go quickly through, and you can read this at home if you haven't already read it tonight and learn a little bit more. Herbs are wonderful things. It could be the whole plant, it could be the leaves, it can be the root, it can be whatever. But we use them for health, medicinally. We can use them for flavor, for fragrance. There's a lot of ways. A lot of people just love to use them for cooking. How many of you love to grow your fresh herbs for culinary uses? Several of you do. That's wonderful. They are good for you, and they're good for whatever you cook, too. It's fun to add things. When you're growing herbs, the thing to remember is that they're not hard to grow, and you don't pamper them like you do roses and different things. Herbs do really well on their own. Just plant them. Make sure it's well-drained soil, lots of sunlight. Water is great. Generally, I just water my herbs when I water everything else around them, my garden or around the lawn or whatever. They do fine. It's just they've got to drain well. So that's one thing you need to remember. You don't want to feed them a lot. Something I learned in preparing for this is that if you do a lot of the high-power fertilizers, the nitrogen weakens, especially the roots and things of some of the herbs if you're using them medicinally. It'll weaken the properties of those, but especially will weaken the essential oils that are in the plant itself. And so you really don't need to fertilize them a lot. If you feel like your soil's real depleted, build it up a little bit, but not a lot. Just compost, stir in some leaves or straw or whatever you want. So you don't need superpower fertilizer or anything to grow herbs. You just need good dirt, some water, some sun. At least 6 hours and more is great. And this is where you need to study your different plants. Some plants, as you know, and herbs are the same, prefer a little more shade. I grow my comfrey on the north side of the house, and it grows great back there. And our house is a little bit of an angle, so it gets sun in the morning and through the day, late morning, and then it's shady. And boy, it does real well back there. But you just have to learn what the different ones want. And boy, we live in an age that's great for learning. You could go anywhere. I mean, you go to the library if you want, but the internet is amazing. It is amazing, and books are fantastic. Some people don't like to plant herbs because most of them will spread quite a bit. Lori's shaking her head on that one. If you're afraid of that, put them in containers or put them in pots. Or if you want them close up to your door so that you can grab it for meals, whether it's basil or thyme, oregano or whatever, put it in pots and put it by your door. This year, I had a lot of my flowers died last year. I got the lupine that just filled my front flower garden, and I told my husband this year I'm going to fill that with herbs instead of planting pretty things that I love, but really, we can't eat them or use them medicinally. I'm going to put in echinacea and yarrow and calendula and a lot of things that I know that I'll be able to use, and they're also beautiful. But they'll spread, so you got to be aware of that because most herbs will spread. So use pots if you want, containers, or let them spread. I've got several that I like to just let them go. Mint is one of those, and a lot of people say, whoa, watch that mint, because it'll spread quick. But it's a good one to have. Other than that, I'm just going to let you read that page on your own or study how you want, but I encourage you, when you get an herb, to look it up and see what does it need. And what other plants need that same thing so that you're kind of planting like needs by like needs. And That works a lot better. I want to share with you a couple of things. The first one is, I firmly believe that the time is coming that we're not going to be able to run to the doctors. And we're not going to be able to get the medicines that we need. And we can store as much as we can. I know there are things like insulin and other things that are have to be refrigerated and whatever. But I firmly believe the Lord expects us to learn about herbs and know how to use them. In the Book of Mormon, when in chapter 46, when Moroni has ripped his coat and he's written the title of liberty on there for our family, for the country, our family is a country for the Lord. Just after that time, Amalickiah has moved north because there were too many against him and wicked king. Just after that time, it's the people are living together, the Nephites that belong to the church and are righteous, are living together. And there's one verse that really stood out to me the last time I read the Book of Mormon. It's verse 40 in chapter 46, and it says, "And there were some who died with fevers, which at some seasons of the year were very frequent in the land, but not so much with fevers, because of the excellent qualities of the many plants and roots which God had prepared to remove the cause of diseases." Have you ever caught that before as you read the Book of Mormon? I firmly believe the Lord has given us excellent plants and roots to help us with diseases and to help us be healthy. The old-timers used them a lot more than we did. And I'll refer to Sister Amanda Barnes Smith. Does that name sound familiar to you? She and her husband, back in the pioneer days, and family were coming with wagons, and they stopped at Hans Mill to repair wheels. And while they were there, of course, the mobsters came in and killed, 17, I think, there. Her husband was killed with the Hans Mill massacre, and her son Sardis, her husband Warren and her son Sardis. She had another son, a younger son. It runs in my mind that he's about 11. His hip was blown away during that thing. And she said, I want to read this to you. Wonderful Daughters in My Kingdom book that I love. This is page 130 if you want to go home and read this. Talks first about Joseph Smith talking to the sisters in the Relief Society in 1842 about claiming the gifts of the Spirit. Of course, one of those, we know, is the gift of healing. And Sister Smith was at that meeting. This was 10 years after Hans Mill massacre. And so it was 10 years after, and she went to hear the prophet talk about the power and the necessity of claiming the gifts of the Spirit. And she already had done that. But let me tell you, having given you the background, I'll read this. His hip had blown off by a gunshot. Amanda later told of the personal revelation she received so that her son could be healed. She said, "I was there all that long, dreadful night with my dead and my wounded, and none but God is our physician and help. Oh, my Heavenly Father," I cried, "what shall I do? Thou seest my poor wounded boy and knowest my inexperience. Oh, Heavenly Father, direct me what to do." And then I was directed as by a voice speaking to me. She was told then to make a lye or a washing solution from the ashes of the fire to clean the wound. Then she was directed by the Spirit to make a poultice out of cloth and slippery elm to fill the wound. The next day she found some balsam and poured it into the wound to soothe Alma's pain. And she continues, "Alma, my child," I said, "you believe that the Lord made your hip?" "Yes, Mother." "Well, the Lord can make something there in the place of your hip. Don't you believe he can, Alma?" "Do you think the Lord can, Mother?" inquired the child in his innocence and simplicity. "Yes, my son," I replied. "He has shown it all to me in a vision." Then I laid him comfortably on his face and said, "Now you lay like that and don't move, and the Lord will make you another hip." Can you imagine the faith? So Alma laid on his face for 5 weeks until he was entirely recovered, a flexible gristle having grown in place of the missing joint and socket, a marvel to physicians. On the day that he walked again, I was out of the house fetching a bucket of water when I heard screams from the children. Running back in a fright, I entered, and there was Alma, dancing around, and the children screaming in astonishment and joy. Through the spiritual gift of revelation, the Lord taught Sister Smith how to care for her son. Sisters, that isn't a gift that only the pioneers had. We can have that gift, but we have to study and learn. When the Lord said, use some lye and make the cleaning solution, she already knew how. Of course, they made their own soap back then. When he said, use some slippery elm, she knew what the slippery elm was, the tree. She thought the Spirit said, use some balsam to relieve the pain. She knew where to go and where to get those things. And that is what we need to do. We need to know how. We need to know what. We need to have it available. One of the things that I love to do that I didn't include in tonight's is to talk about the wonderful herbs around us that don't grow in the garden or have, the pretty flower names and everything. I love to use dandelion and burdock and mullein and purslane and shepherd's purse. It's amazing. It's amazing what those things can do for us. If you're interested, I'll probably be doing a class in June, probably a 2-week class. The first one we'll learn all about them, and the second one we'll learn to make tinctures and salves and different things, poultices and all of that. If you're interested, you can sign up. I think I brought a deal, and you can just come up afterwards and put your name on there. Or at the bottom, the back of that page, some of the best medicinal. Down there, I put my email. Just email me and let me know you're interested, and then when I get a date and a time, I'll let you know about it. I charge for that one just so you know, so you're not going into it blind. But that's the one where I really talk about, most people call them weeds. I call them herbs. They are phenomenal, and they're all around us, and I think we're going to need to know how to use those. Let's talk a little bit about the herbs on the back of that page. Calendula, do you know what that one is? This is calendula. It's called pot marigold is another name. It's not the same as those little marigolds that we buy and we just call them marigolds, that, bright yellow or bright orange or whatever. Those are poisonous. You don't want to eat those or use them. This is an amazing plant, just the flower, the petals. Very calming, very good for skin. Anything. Makes a wonderful diaper ointment. Good for acne or anything. It's also good for insect bites or anything. That's just calendula, and it's a beautiful flower, and it's just the flower that you use on that one.
Is that an annual?
That one, I think, that's a good question.
It reseeds itself every year though, so it comes back.
It comes back, she says. Most of your herbs, well, they'll either reseed or they spread from the roots easily. One thing I've read recently is a lot of your herbs you can't do with seeds. You need to get starts. And if anybody wants a comfrey start, we'll talk about that in a minute. They're up, and I've got comfrey starts. And that's another thing. You can put your name on here, and I'll probably have an afternoon next week where anybody that wants a comfrey start can come get one. But I haven't had a problem with my herbs not coming back the next year. But I haven't planted calendula before. I've bought the dried flower herb to use when I do my salves and stuff. So next one, cayenne, is amazing. And cayenne is just your little cayenne peppers. That's all it is. It's a real just cayenne pepper. Those you grow, you dry, you grind them up. You've got cayenne. The amazing thing about cayenne is it's cayenne and yarrow at the bottom. Both will stop bleeding. They have been amazing, just amazing throughout the ages for stopping bleeding. If you've got a big open wound, sprinkle cayenne on it, just directly right on it. Or give somebody a tincture. If there's internal bleeding or something, a tincture, which is an alcohol or a vinegar or a glycerin, made with your herb, is amazing for stopping the bleeding. Yes?
Several years ago, I started having nosebleeds all the time. I couldn't move, I couldn't bend over anything. I went to the doctor a couple of times and they cauterized it with silver nitrate. And let me tell you, that's, cayenne pepper is mild compared to that.
I imagine.
And they could never get it to stop. So the last time I went to the doctor, I come home and I was just really upset. And I started praying to Father about it. And I was instructed to get a Kleenex and fold it into a point. I dipped it in a little bit of water and then the cayenne and shoved it up my nose. And every time it started bleeding again, I did that. And within a week, it was healed, and I haven't had nosebleeds since.
Cayenne is amazing. Thank you for your testimonial.
Question,
Yes,
wouldn't it burn really bad? Yes, it does.
it does. You know, I went to a preparatory fair. I went to a class up there, and Dr. Jones from Twin Falls was there. He's a veterinarian, but he has used herbs. He's an herbologist also, a master herbalist, and he uses herbs galore in addition to medicine stuff in his treatment of animals. He said that, somebody asked him in that class, I've been to one of his all-day classes and different things. He's a fun guy, and he's just amazing at what he knows and how he uses herbs. But somebody said, can we just, put the capsule and just swallow it down? And he said, the thing about, putting it right on your tongue is it says to your brain, hello, wake up here, we have a problem. And yeah, it burns. I'll take cayenne tincture often, just to help with blood pressure and circulation and things. And it burns. I'll put a little bit of water. Sometimes I'll put it on my tongue and then swallow a lot of water. So it's hot, but you know what? It's temporary. It's temporary. Bleeding to death is permanent. So, anyway, cayenne and yarrow. Yarrow used to be used a lot with soldiers and things, as did cayenne, but to stop bleeding in the field. I made a salve out of cayenne and would put on my feet because I have a little bit of neuropathy. That stuff's amazing. And I'd always use rubber disposable gloves to put it on. I don't want it on my hands and rub my eyes and stuff. Put it on my feet at night, and then, anyway, you can just do amazing things with cayenne. It's another great herb to have. Chamomile is also superb, and I do not have a chamomile plant, but you know what chamomile looks like? Cute little daisies. I don't know if you can see this from back there. Real pretty little plant. Chamomile is a very gentle, wonderful plant. It's good to make a tea at nighttime just for relaxing and helping you to sleep. It's also very good for skin regeneration and everything. Marcia?
I get a lot of those plants, just kind of in my yard, are those chamomile, or are they the other ones that look like?
I can't tell you. Feverfew also has just a cute little white, it's little smaller petals and a little white kind of daisy-like thing, and that's another great herb to have. I can't even tell you, guessing from up here, but look it up. Get you some good pictures or some books and go out and identify what you've got growing. Comfrey is my very favorite herb. We've had amazing, phenomenal success with comfrey. Years ago, I had a herniated disc. My husband was down in Tucson learning how to build violins for a 3-week class. My girls were home, and we suffered through and muddled through, and I had an MRI and doctor appointments, and we did everything. And then Claude came home, and he said, well, did you put comfrey on it? And I said, no. So he started making comfrey poultices, and within 2 days, it was gone. It was amazing. It was wonderful. Comfrey, they used to call knit bone, and it's nature's healer. It heals anything. The scary thing about comfrey, not scary, the thing you have to be careful of with comfrey is it heals so fast, you don't want to put it on a puncture wound or a wound that's really deep and kind of needs to heal to start with on the inside coming out, because it will heal quickly. It has a thing in called allantoin that is just really causes cell regeneration real fast, which is great. But comfrey is good on bruises, it's good on scrapes, cuts, broken bones. Literally, it will heal broken bones. It's amazing. They used to call it that all through the years. I make a salve with that, and my kids call it Grandma's Magic Salve. And if they get hurt, they run in. Where's Grandma's salve? Where's the magic salve? Where's Grandma's magic salve? It's got comfrey, and sometimes I'll put other things in. But that's just an amazing salve to put on. All the bumps, bruises, everything you've got, it's a healer. It's a healer. It's also good for lungs and making poultices with even congestion and things like that. Comfrey is one that I love. I won't go through the year without comfrey growing, and so I'll dry my comfrey, and then I can seal, you got one of your things with a lid on it, suck that out, and I seal it, and get me several of these 2-quart jars, seal them up good so that it's still good all through the winter until I get my fresh comfrey going again. Echinacea is another amazing herb. Build your immune system. You don't want to take it all the time, but don't wait till you've had a cold for 4 or 5 days and then say, oh, I probably ought to start boosting my immune system. Do it at the first sniffle or the minute you start feeling sick with anything. And don't just take a little, because it's a mild herb, but it's powerful. It can be used in poultices. It can be used for colds, flu, anything. It'll just help build your immune system. Go ahead and take it, like take it every 2 hours or whatever. We had, at that same class I went to, one gal said, what's the best way to take all these herbs? And he just looked at her and he said, how did you get here today? She said, well, I came by car and got out and walked in the front door, He said, could you have come by bus? She said, well, if one was coming this way, yeah. Or helicopter? Well, yeah. Or with a friend? Yeah, I probably could have done that. And he said, herbs are the same way. Just get them in you. Just get them in you. If you have a bottle of powdered herb, you can stir it in water and take it. You can take capsules. You can take tincture. He has a daughter that has stomach problems. Parsley is just done wonders for her, and they have parsley growing on their patio. She gets stomach starts bothering her, she goes out and picks some and eats it. He said, just get it in you. It can't do any good on the shelf. Another great point to learn about herbs. Garlic. Garlic's just an amazing herb, and I've always known it was, but I've gained a testimony of it this year. Claude and I had, got the flu. Did all of you get the flu this year? Did you luck out? And mine, as always, goes into my chest, and I have to keep it out from going into pneumonia, and his goes into the sinus thing. And after about a week of just feeling rotten and no changes, and I'd thrown everything at him I could think of, he said, isn't there anything else you can do? And I said, we could go to the doctor, and get an antibiotic if that might help, but it's probably viral. And he said, well, what, nothing else? And I said, the thing I haven't tried is garlic. He said, get it out. I said, okay, I will. So, let me show you real quick here how to use garlic. Garlic also has allantoin, and if you think of garlic like a glow stick, it needs to be broken before it works good. And so garlic, I don't want to stand right in front of the camera. Maybe I'll move over this way a little bit. You get your garlic and you just want to mash that first. The nice thing, when you cook with garlic, you do this, don't you? Just mash it, and then the nice little papery stuff comes off, and you've already got that glow stick working there. And then one that size, because that's, that's a fairly decent size one. Then I just go ahead and I cut that up into little pieces, and then I'll let it sit 5 or 10 minutes. That's all set to go. And then I break that sort of into 2 halves. I spread it into 2 halves, and I'll give Claude a spoonful and me a spoonful. And his cholesterol came back high a couple of months ago, and so we've started doing garlic, fresh garlic every day. And I put mine on the back of my tongue and hurry swallow water. He puts his under the tongue and swallows water, but he has to work harder to get it down, but he says that way it doesn't hit my taste buds. You know what? It beats the illness of high cholesterol, poor circulation, builds the immune system. Susie, up here on the front row, my dear friend, told me when she had a little preemie baby years ago, they started giving him garlic. He was just getting sick, and after, 6 weeks or so, about 6 or so weeks old, they started giving him garlic. Never got sick again. My daughter had a preemie baby a year ago, September, and, he's in the NICU for 3 or 4 months, and she brings him home, and he's just getting sick all the time, and this year he got sick, was up in the hospital for a week or 10 days. She brought him home, and finally I said, look, let's try the garlic. So we chop it up like this, real fine, mash it, chop it up little fine things. Then we put a little bit of olive oil, like a 1/4 cup, 1/2 cup. Put it in a bottle, sit it on her counter, and she uses that every time she's been to church. She's a nursery leader. She brings him home, puts garlic on his feet, puts garlic here on his lymph glands and around in his ears a little bit, just a little oil. It's got good properties in, but it's one way you can get on or in or around kids. It's powerful. I had a severe earache, probably 6 weeks or 2 months ago. I got one little clove of garlic, kind of mashed it, and then I didn't shove it in my ear. I barely set it in there so that it wouldn't fall out. I kid you not, within 10 seconds, the pain was gone. Garlic is amazing. I can't say enough good about garlic. It's wonderful. One of those wonderful herbs everybody ought to have. That's another good one you can study about and learn. Peppermint, superb and easy to grow. Easy one to grow. Peppermint is just a good thing for tummies. It's good for the head. It's even good for migraine, they say. We've never had migraines in our family. I'm real blessed and lucky that way. But use your peppermint for, if you're in the car driving and you've got some peppermint essential oil, use a little bit of that, just a little bit under your nose or on your wrist or right here on your temples. It just helps wake you up. Peppermint is excellent. It also helps other herbs, kicks it, like echinacea, for instance, which is a mild one. Peppermint helps it, kicks it in and gets going. And then yarrow, again, stops bleeding. And that neat thing about yarrow that's powerful when we're sick is it causes you to sweat, cleans out toxins, and can help bring a fever down. So that's good too. You can chew it to relieve toothache. On each of those, I've kind of put which parts you use. Now the challenge at the bottom there, plant 3 new herbs this year and learn how to use them. Medicinal herbs I'm talking, but learn how to use them and what you can do with them. And secondly, study some others. At least one a month for this next year. You'll know 12 herbs well. If you do 2 a month, you'll know 24 herbs. And you'll know how to use them and what you can do. I strongly recommend that you do that, sisters. Do you have any quick questions? All righty, I think we're about done.
Your books up here, are these
Oh, the books.
what you found the best? Or?
I gave a class a couple of weeks ago, and I had this huge thing of books, and I about died going into the church and carrying them back out, and I said, tonight I'm just taking 2 or 3. This is one I found at a garage sale one time, and it's good. The thing I don't like about this one is it doesn't have very many color photos about each of the herbs. It's got a lot of drawings. Oh, this one's not too bad. It's got a lot of drawings and things, but I like color photos that really show me exactly what that plant is. But you could find, I love having the Encyclopedia of Herbs because that's a good general thing. 2 people that I really have learned to trust on books, and I've got several of theirs. One is Rosemary Gladstar. I usually write these down, and I didn't put them on there. But that is she knows what she's talking about. She's a master herbalist. She can teach you how to make anything and what the different herbs do and stuff. Rosemary Gladstar does a real good job, and I've got 2 or 3 of her books. The other one that I really like, or another one, is Penelope Ody, O-D-Y. She's another one who knows what she's doing, and she's got a lot of really good information. So both of those I like. You can find her books galore online, but I always trust those 2, always. And there are some others that are excellent.
Deanna, where did you get your calendula? I have some calendula, but it doesn't have that big a blossom. And the blossom
Yeah, I thought those were pretty. That I got up at, I just got that in Kessler's the other day. Yeah. And this one is your echinacea, which is also called coneflower. Yarrow and echinacea, I wondered, okay, which color of yarrow flower is the best one, which color is the best, and which one echinacea, because you can get all colors. Dr. Jones said it doesn't matter what color. Just get yarrow in your garden. Yarrow looks like a poison hemlock or a water hemlock, and so you have to be careful with that. But he said what you need to do is plant yarrow in your garden, because once you've planted it and you know it, you'll never mistake it. You'll know what it is if you're out in the wild. You won't be, doing something that you shouldn't. Plant it and you'll know. And the coneflower on your echinacea, any color's fine. It's the root you use on that, and you don't want to do it the first year. Let them grow. It's the second year root that you'll be using that. I think that's it, sisters. I'll just bear testimony. I strongly believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. And I know that we're here to be happy, to learn, to grow, and to serve each other, to help our families. I know the Lord's given us brains, He's given us the plans, and all we've got to do is put the two together, and then the Spirit will direct us how to use those. And I bear testimony of that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.